Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on good question, February 16th, 2024, at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I turn to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. And I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the precise philosophies that I personally use to guide virtually every action I take. Now, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have worked for literally thousands of others, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, with this in mind, I spotted a question on Facebook just a couple of days ago asking how many past lives can we, how many lives do you get, or how many times of reincarnation do you get? Okay, so before I get into that, okay, I'm going to go the route of we have Shadow and Sun hopefully still in the house. But Shadow and Sun does, however, come up with the gold anyway. He was first one in here. And this is the link. Hopefully that's right. Yes, I copied the right one. This is the link to Shadow and Sun's live stream. So drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. Okay, now we have Joe Stewart is in with the silver. And Joe, yeah, you may have been in a little early, but hey, you're here, so what the heck? The way I figured, I'm usually early to whatever I'm supposed to be doing, except apparently my grave, or my permanent one anyway. Then we have Storm and Shadow in with the bronze, and LA has come in with honorable mention. And before I even got through that, we have Wu Train coming through the door. How you doing there, Wu? And Storm and Shadow and LA. Thank you so much for your help today. Absolutely appreciated. As I add people to the net that we're working on, because like I said, I've decided I've tried this whole new life side of things. Okay, this new lifeline. Steve, how you doing? Glad you could show up. Oh, Will goes, I've been here since Wednesday evening. The funny part about it is this. I mentioned I've tried this whole life side of things, going over and over again. Now, how many lives can you reincarnate for? I have no way of giving you a number. Okay, I can think I think I've got something on this planet only. I've got I think 18 or 20, but I'm in the middle of literally documenting them now and putting them together. Okay, and I know exactly how to do that. So we should do that just on principle. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So I've got a file now where I'm literally going through and adding to my memory, or more to the point, the documentation of my memory for each of the past lives. Now, here's a neat little kicker for you. Okay, this was pointed out by a former girlfriend of mine. Okay, not only is this a novel, quite frankly, it's a saga. When it gets completed, okay, there will be 12 volumes in all, and at least there will be at least two, possibly three more mini novellas coming out tied to the same system. and a brand new novel series already lined up. My brain really shuts down a lot. Okay. But a lot of those lives have, like, a lot of the things that have taken place in my life that I remember are pulled directly from events that I remember happening and that I remember going through. And me is in the house, it would look like. How we doing, me? The neat part about it is when you take a look at your past lives, number one, or at your current lives, how many more times can you make a go of it? That is 100% up to you. Nobody has told you have to reincarnate on Earth. You have to be a human. You don't have to do anything except if you desire to go back to your originating home. You've got to find out everything about you, which means you got to find all your bits and pieces. Okay, to be honest, I've actually got a real good focus on where I'm heading now with my life. Okay, and that empire I was starting to sort out. Okay, that empire that I said I'm building. Number one, 2 years ago, well, in 2007, I opened the doors. Okay, in 2022, I added one person to the net. Okay, this year I've already added two more. And like I said, now is the time to build it. Now you think about it. 2,000 years ago, purportedly, one guy came along and said, hey, let's be nice to each other. He drew 12 people to him and he changed the world for 2,000 years. Okay. Now, I'm not planning on, I'm not telling you 2,000 years from now the world will be radically different. I'd lay odds on it. I know it's radically different from what it was now. Of course, I've got the advantage of actually having memories that date back that far. But every one of your lives, every one of them, you're the one that picks what you're coming back to gain. This whole idea of being predestined, that you've got to learn these skills. Those are literally your choice. Okay. Like the whole issue about a contract that you signed, it's a contract with you. Okay. In other words, you come into this life to figure out what it is, what kind of a life you're going to have. Okay. What are the wisdoms you're coming back to gain? Okay. Now, that's what you're coming in looking for. How those wisdoms come about depends on your own choices. Now, like I always looked at Colonel Sanders when I was born. I always looked at him and went, from my understanding, he was 65 when he opened his first chicken stand. Now, a household name. I'm going to go one further than that. I've started the ball rolling. Thanks to your guys' encouragement, I am now building an empire that I quite seriously am going to return to this life, to this world somewhere in my area. In all likelihood, I'm going to see if I can work it out, and there's nothing stopping me from doing so. To come back in, now there's a poem out that says all. I'm going to come back into this world as my own, and I will have been my own grandpa. Okay. My case, it may be my own great grandpa. But I'm saying things in motion so this whole empire itself will drive itself right through the roof. There is no reason, and this applies to you as well as to me. There is no reason you cannot be amongst the so-called elite, in the future. I don't care how old you are right now. It doesn't matter. What you set your mind to is what you're stacking the deck in favor of. Okay, so I'm looking at this going, okay, what is missing? Well, what was missing is now at the top of the stream. One of the things that was missing, at the top of the chat room, you will find a link to buy me a coffee. That link will take you straight to straight to my online store, where any one of the books that we talk about, any one of the tasks that I look at, you can reach them there. Not the least of which is the copy of the free newsletter. Okay, Positive Perspectives is free, will remain that way. Okay, but you can only get it via digital, because I don't have a printer anymore. So that works out quite well from that end. But absolutely, I have worked it out. Like, there's a lot of change happening, and I've been looking back over some of my past lives. And in the past, I have been pretty much everything under the sun. I've been a philanthropist. This lifetime, albeit I don't have a lot of money right now, but you'll notice the right now qualifier. Okay, I am taking a look at that, and I'm already a philanthropist. I just don't have millions of dollars to hand people yet. Okay, and what's going to happen here, okay, is we're going to build this empire. We're going to build the publishing company, and I'm starting to put the documentation together to get an anthology of poems put together. And again, okay, let's just assume you've got a single poem that is of a positive background, does not talk about killing everybody on the sun of the planet, that sort of thing. Okay, let's say you've got a single poem you'd like to get published. I'm putting an anthology together that all that is required from you, if you want your poem included in it, is $20 Canadian, a copy of the poem that is in question, and a letter from you stating this is in fact your actual work. After that, you will get your poem in print. Okay, you will get a copy of the anthology. Nick, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Actually, I thought I saw you come in earlier, but that's okay. I'm somewhat twisted. But that will get you your book in print. And I'm telling you, okay, it's kind of neat in my eyes. I take a look at this. Okay, and it applies to every book that I put out. You get your name on a book, and all of a sudden you've got a form of immortality. Now, I intend to see the 22nd century anyway. Okay, I mean, that's just the reality behind it. But again, guys, if you have a question, absolutely pop it into the chat room. Doesn't even matter if it's in the same topic that we're discussing. Pop it into the chat room in all caps, at least partial caps, or at the very least, you pop up that little wavy hand. That will help me catch the questions. Okay, and I will do my best to answer them. But where we're looking at past lives and how many times can you actually come back? How often do you want to come back? I mean, I know I've argued the point, but I did give. Now, you know her as Mother Earth, as Gaia, as Mother Nature. I know her as Itza. Okay, and I did give her my word. I would stay with her until her time was done. Now, bear in mind, she's already roughly 5 billion years old. Okay, which may give you an idea if you think the average turnaround time between one life and the next, the average turnaround time for a human is about 70 years. Okay, now if that were a static, let's see here. 1,000 million. Whoop. 1,000 million billion. Divide by 70. Assuming that we run a static every 70 years coming back, I am looking at having had just over 14 million lifetimes on this planet. Okay, now bear in mind that I know that's a huge number. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Steve goes, your kids and grandkids will make you immortal. Ultimately, yes. As long as people remember you, you're still alive. Now, granted, this does not apply to the physicality of it. Okay, but I get so many people asking me, well, how many lifetimes can you have? The real important thing is, how are you going to live the one you've got? Okay, I mean, let's face it. I could sit here and just twiddle my thumbs. I don't think I actually could, but just twiddle my thumbs and wait for the world to pass. I waited for 55 years for people to wake up. Now I'm just going, I'm not waiting any longer. Now it's time to step out of the shadows and go, here's a way to to straighten things out. Now, of course, the important factor from your standpoint is literally, number one, are you content with your life now? And number two, if the answer is no, what are you doing to change it? What are you doing yourself to alter the energy path? Okay, now let us just take a peek and see what we got going on here. Oh, there we are. And we just double check on spam because we do that just because I can. I'm just scanning to make sure I didn't get anything screwed up. But, that's the way that goes. Let's go back there where we belong. Now, one of the important things I look at is this. We all come into this world. We all come in here to gain wisdom around certain things. But the question is not, how many more runs at it can you make? It's not like, it's not like, oh, you only have 3 tries. This is not a 1970s video game or 1980s one. You get as many runs as you choose to take. Okay, with that in mind, what are you going to do with those options? Are you going to change things in your life to make your life and potentially the lives of those around you better? Okay, that's just the reality of it is. iVoices, absolutely. You absolutely. iVoices just asking, can you reincarnate as a Sasquatch? The answer is yes. You can come back as whatever you choose. Okay, and the reality of it is, when you come back, it's very unlikely that you will remember your last life. Though the physical body doesn't handle it well. But you can certainly come back as a Sasquatch. You can come back as a pine tree if you'd like. Okay. You can also come back as a rock. But, coming back as a rock, you may have a very sedentary life. But there is absolutely no reason that you cannot come back as another species. One thing to keep in mind, okay, there's only one. Like when you look back in time and you take a look at all the famous people that have come and gone. Like, for instance, only one person could be the reincarnation of Wilbur Wright. Okay. Now, granted, none of you will be because he wasn't dead long enough. Okay. But only one person can come back as a specific former person. There's a lot of people that will complain, that will claim it. You know, I've heard a staggering number of people tell me they were a real famous person in the past, and they've come to help everybody, and this is what they're doing. And, come out to my fenced-in compound where I've got lots of guns because I'm coming to lead you to a better world. Now, I don't know if somebody's coming in with a whole bunch of guns. Are they leading you to a better world than what is already here? Okay. Now, I will tell you this. I don't own a gun. I've only fired one a couple of times. Okay. I don't see the point in having one. Right. Number one, can you picture this? Where is it? There. Now, picture this. I'm going to pull a gun and I'm going to actually try and hurt somebody. Now, bear in mind, this particular gun I'm going to show you is an absolute 100% mock-up. But here's the reality. I pull this gun and now I'm going to try and shoot somebody. How well do you think that's going to work? Now, of course, on the other hand, I can hit somebody with it and it's pretty hefty. I don't honestly know what the weight is. But guns are never the problem. Okay. Guns have only ever done the bidding of whoever's got a hold of them. When you come into a lifetime, you come in with the intention of gaining a certain amount of wisdom. It depends on your actions, on your choices, as to how that wisdom manifests. Okay, now, where am I? I know I'm sitting right here. I did manage today to get the bed almost completely cleared. Why do I still have that bed? Well, that's okay. Just going to take that where I don't need it and get it off my bed because I don't want it there. Or more to the point, I don't desire it there. And then I'll sort the rest of it out afterwards. Yes, I've got the door behind me open, but that's because my boys are out and I want to actually be able to hear if something happens. But when we look at past life, or at your reincarnations, let me ask you this. All things being equal, okay, starting right now, do you have a goal? Do you have a dream that you would like to follow through on, that you would like to see come to fruition? Because I'm telling you, what we're working on now is figuring out how to make that happen. It's great knowing what your past lives are. It's fabulous knowing what you're coming back for. Like, my next lifetime, I'm going to come back as quick as I can, in all fairness. I'm trying to get it to the point where I actually can die and come back 20 minutes later, if that. Give them long enough to pull another stunt, and walk out of the morgue again, because that's always good for a laugh. But you can pick whatever life you desire to have. Okay, the real catch to it, okay, is when you're looking at designing your future. Take a look at it. What can you do today? Because one life will lead into the next. I went through this about a week ago, I think, maybe two. Okay, where my lifetime that ended in 1833 and started in my next lifetime, my last one ended in 1833. I died of a broken heart. Then in 1898, I was born again, but I was born into a lifetime where I was as violent as you could imagine. And I was good at it. Okay. But at the end of my life, in 1956, I died in Chicago Memorial. Okay. And I returned in Vancouver, BC in 1963. But when I returned, I came back to find one young lass that I actually helped as a senior in my last lifetime. Okay. I came back to find her again, make sure she had been taken care of. As it turned out, she was. Okay. And in all fairness, I was Caucasian in the early 1900s. Boy, was I volatile. But when I got asked to turn over an alien child to, to the people or to the locals, okay, I turned them over, and I forget what nationality it was, okay, but I turned them over to the local natives and said, look, you gotta protect this munchkin. Keep her safe. Now, bear in mind, the munchkin was a reptilian, specifically a Strazazian. Okay, and to give you an idea of a Strazazian, take a look at this book. Okay. Now, you'll know the guy in the middle here. Where is it? Oh, there we go. The guy in the middle with the sword. Take a look at the sides of his mace as compared to the torso on this young lass. Okay. That's what kind of size we're talking about. And this is why so many people talk about this problem of being frightened by what they see. It's kind of a neat little thing. I don't get frightened very much by people. Looking for my coffee. Now don't get me wrong. Though I don't fear death, I've done it often enough, I'm certainly not looking forward to going again. Uh-oh. Joe, I got a question for you. That question, I'm presuming it's the one you sent me via email. And if that is the case, let me go back up in here and see if I've got it. We go down here to 2024. Not that one. Try the other one. Okay, I'm not going to try and track that down because clearly I'm not making any headway there. But let's go back to here. Now, the one thing I will tell you, Joe, if you're referring to what you asked me, to what you emailed me, number one, you got to remember that ghosts can alter their height and their entire appearance. They don't usually, but they can if they were to so choose. But I certainly don't feel anything of a danger from that standpoint. I'm wondering. Pop that to live. Here we are. Jail, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Jail's just asking, can you have past lives, but the past lives are in the future? No. That's just categorical, can't be done. And here's why. You cannot travel back in time. Okay. I do have a question, but I'm still looking for a qualified specialist in walk-ins. Okay, but number one, past life cannot be in the future. It wouldn't be a past life. Okay, but can you orchestrate a future life? Certainly. This is why I'm building an empire right now that will hopefully last at least as long as the Hudson's Bay Company has. Now, the Hudson's Bay Company, from what I gather, and I don't know history itself as well as you might think I should, but last I knew it was about 325 years old. With this in mind, okay, my goal is to set this company in motion, whereby, from a spiritual standpoint, it kind of helps people for the next several thousand years. Okay, all in one shot. But that's going to take help from your guys. Okay, and I'm building an empire that the company itself will continue to run long after I finally get bored enough to check out. But yeah, the neat part with with the way your life is evolving there, GL, is you lay out what you're aiming for. You lay out the parameters for how you desire to come in. You don't have to detail every action. Okay, as a matter of fact, it's kind of counterproductive. But with that in mind, when I go down to Reno, and this is just one of those things I'm orchestrating, okay, when I go down to Reno, I'm going to make absolutely certain that I can spend as much time with you guys as I can get away with. Okay, there will be limits. I'm not likely to be up until 3 or 4 in the morning this time, but that may have something to do with the fact I'm bringing my other half with me. Or more to the point, hoping to see her there. Joe goes, I also saw today this afternoon nap up in my bedroom, bright blue orb. Well, bright blue orb, depending on the size of it, you're probably looking at a communication specialist of the Verosic people. Okay, now bear in mind they work in variable light and sound waves in order to communicate. Okay, but the first one that comes to mind for me is if it was an orb, it's probably a Verosic. It's technically possible it could be a Zerzex, but that depends entirely on how big it was to start with. Zerzex tend to be a lot bigger than the Verosic do. Okay, but neither one of them are of any danger. That's the nice part about it. I tell you, Joe, you have way more activity in your bedroom than I have in mine. Mind you, my house has got a revolving door on the front end, I'm sure of it. So what do we got here? What we got? To be honest there, GL, the answer would be no. I am one of the worst read English majors you'll ever meet. Okay. I think I may have had, I don't even think I had encounters as far as the book goes. But no, I have honestly not read it. Matter of fact, I used to have a number of books by Bud Hopkins, whom, by the way, I also never read. Recently, I started disposing of the books I'm never going to get to, and the ones I've already gotten to. Now, just because of that, Let's not hurt ourselves, shall we? If I take this out of the way, this is all just scrap paper I work with. But the reason I'm grabbing this is because it just dawned on me. When we're looking at orchestrating things, okay, you start orchestrating your life the way you desire it to be. And it literally boils down to going, okay, what am I aiming for? You know, how is it that I desire my life to work? Now, you can sit there and go, I'm not happy with my life, and you can suffer with it all you'd like. Works out rather nicely. Okay, what I'm looking at is this. I'm not content with the way my life is going. So what can I do about it now to set the stage so the people that are here after I've gone have something to work with? I don't know about you, but that's a better gift to me, for anybody to give than just turning around and going, let's see if we can straighten something out and make one person better. I love the way it was said, that it was put to me, and I just read it the other day, that, it is a truly spiritual individual that will plant a tree knowing they will never themselves live and, feel the shade of it, but that other people down the road will be. Very much, Jill. Very much. Okay. What do we got here? Nathan, how we doing? Oh, absolutely. This, and let me just find it here. Here we are. This is the link to Nathan's live stream. And today is Friday, which makes tomorrow really interesting. But this is the link to Nathan's live stream. So drop in, give him a listen, do subscribe to his channel, and then share the daylights out of the thing. Okay? And just an interesting heads up. Okay? Just an interesting heads up. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on Nathan's, unless Nathan pulls the plug and says, I can't do it. My plan is to be on the air with him tomorrow. Okay. But I'm betting right now that Nathan is up to his eyeballs in work. But yes. GL. Yeah, trees are absolutely imperative. I've actually taught people how to listen to the trees. And I'm talking about teaching them this lifetime. Okay. But we've got to remember, whatever you're planting, whatever you're doing, if you do it with love, if you do it with the right intentions, you can have a much better world. Okay. Now, Joe is just bringing us up to speed. It was small, just zoom back and forth and was gone. Yeah. What? It only went. I do not like that thing. Yeah, it only went about 2 feet. My farmhouse was built in 1913. See, by the time 1913 rolled around, I already had a list of assault charges against me longer than my arm. Me, how you doing? Yeah, I like houseplants. It's just I found out very early I can actually kill an air plant in 3 days. And that's without trying to. I don't know how well I can do it if I were actually trying to, but I'm not interested. But no, Joe, that sounds very much like you were likely looking at a Vorosic. Okay. And You know, what a bit an idea. What if I can do this without scrambling my own head? If we go desktop, we go there. Now I am looking for races. Okay, apparently not there, so let's try it down here. Okay, that's taking too long. So why don't we go, not volume 2. This might do it. Probably will do it. Okay. Just drawing this down to take a look at. Now we find. There we go. Now, oh, I can't do that after all. Yeah, if you take a look at a Rosic, hey, what a novel thought. Just dawned on me. And Joe, this is directly to you. Aside from the fact that yours was blue, that about the size you were looking at? And no, this is not a petrified Verosic. But is that about the size orb that you were looking at? You know, it's just a thought. Actually, it's got pretty solid reason for it being a thought. Let's see. Minimize that. Minimize that because it's in the way. Yeah, it was just something that dawned on me. That gives you, if you're looking at orbs, this is about the size of the average Verosic. Now, of course, they do have a field. I have an energy field that is, pretty much double that size afterwards. But again, when we're talking about reincarnation, you can come back as any race you desire to incarnate as. Okay, the incarnation is your choice. By the way, Gio, just to point something out there. Sorry, me. Just to point something out. If you sit quietly and thank your plants for introducing themselves in a way you can both accept and understand, you may find you have a lot more activity in your house than you're expecting. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Oh, what do we got? Oh no, more about the size of a. Oh, about the size of a penny. Okay, yeah. Okay, and again, this would be about the size of an adult. Okay, but when you're looking at something that small, okay, if it's bright blue, number one, you write off the idea of it being a dust particle. Okay, but at that size, you're likely looking at a young Verosic. Okay, now it's technically possible it could be Yumion, but the reality is Yumion usually take on a physical form representative of whatever race they're contacting. Okay, but when we're looking at reincarnation, when you're looking at how many lives can you have, let me ask you this lifetime, how many times have you shifted the direction your life was heading? Maybe you had a girlfriend or a boyfriend that you were really drawn to, and it fell apart, so you moved on to another life. This lifetime, the same thing happens every time you come back for a new incarnation. Now, I wonder what is. Oh, that's the elf class. Can't do that one. Because those ones I'm keeping. So I pull these guys out of the way. Here's the neat part about it, guys. When you start looking at lives, okay, what do you like here and what are you looking for? What limits are there? Okay, here's the kicker. Where you're looking at the lifetimes you can have, the only limitation is what your imagination can do. Now, you can certainly come into a life going, I'm going to have an empire. I'm going to affect the world in a positive fashion. Or like I did in 1898, I'm going to kill as many people I can do and then just get my revenge on what was done to me. This is a bad way to lay out a life. Okay. But it is one of these things that you really have to take a look at and go, how do I desire my life to evolve? Okay. And whether you come back as a Verosic, actually, that's kind of a neat revelation. Whether you come back as a Verosic, trying to understand the light language, or maybe you're going to come back, maybe you'll come back as a Yumion. Yumion take on the physical form of, and I'm talking the silhouette form, of whatever species they're striving to connect with. Okay, but you've got dominant control over whether that occurs. Okay, it's that simple. But past lives can dictate, and usually do dictate, what you're going to draw to you this in the current lifetime. And here's why. Okay, picture, if you will, your physical body is a vehicle. Okay, now you have presumably a car, a motorcycle, some sort of a vehicle. Okay, you may even just simply have a pair of running shoes that are your method of movement. Okay, now when your physical vehicle dies, you go on to carry on with another one. Given the representation of this life, you've got a car. The car dies. You're going to walk around for a bit until you find a new vehicle that you're content with. Same thing applies to your head. Okay, things are going one way, aspect collapses, and now you're going, well, that didn't work, so what am I going to do now? It is up to you what you do with it. This guy can go back where he belongs. Now, here's the real neat kicker, guys. Okay, take a look at your current life. Joe. Okay, we'll get to that in 30 seconds here, Steve. Joe. Joe's going, he goes, I've had a past life. Yes, I had a past life. I had 25 years ago in cemetery, a romantic encounter with a brunette woman. I'm not kidding on this one. Joe, I'm not entirely certain you know how to kid on things. I mean, I'm sure you do, but, you think about it. You go back 25 years. Okay. The one question for you is that was 25 years ago. But in order for you to move forward, in order for you to find a new partner, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you do have to let your attachment to the last one go. Okay, because you've got to have a stable relationship. You've got to have a clear heart that is not still focused on somebody else. Okay, I know from practical experience that doesn't work well. Now, Steve, you're asking, can soulmates reincarnate together? Absolutely, they can. Okay, they absolutely can, and they do it with malice aforethought. You can literally connect with your soulmate. Sometimes you know it's your soulmate, but they have not evolved enough for the merge to complete, because maybe they've still got 2 or 3 lifetimes that they've got to pull together before their part of the whole is complete, but you still know that's the one you're looking for. When that happens, okay, the two of you go, okay, yes, I want to connect. I desire to have a romantic relationship or a professional relationship or whatever with this particular individual. Okay, you can absolutely set it up. Me, life has a very simple purpose. Okay, now I'm not going to give you a scientific definition of it. Okay, I mean, there is one, but I'll be danged if I'm going to look it up. But the purpose of life, and this is literally from your first incarnation all the way through your past lives, your literal purpose is to remember who and what you are, meaning all of the capacity, all of the creative capability that you've got. Remember what it is. Okay, this usually requires reincarnating, incarnating in a corporeal form, having a bunch of experiences, remembering how to do things. Some will come naturally, some will be a little more work. Okay, but the meaning of life is literally, and you're going to love this one, evolution. Okay, or more to the point, it literally is reincarnation. What you're doing is finding all your bits and pieces of a puzzle. And let's say you got 10,000 puzzle pieces and no pictures. You have no idea what that whole puzzle looks like. All you've got is a puzzle with no solid discernible end. Like when you look at a physical puzzle in today's world, they're all, most of them are built on a rectangular frame. Okay, so if you take that rectangular frame and put it together, you got an idea of what you're looking at. With reincarnation, you literally are looking at experiencing life in the here and now. And that means experiencing the good, the bad, and the neutral. Okay, life is not a question of good or bad. There are choices you can make that will simply carry things forward. But I've literally seen people that have gone. As a matter of fact, I met one of my soul family that I rescued centuries back because I took apart. They were having trouble dealing with the memory, so I took it and I swore I would give it back when they were ready for it. And then when we got together this lifetime, and no, I am not referring to my current partner. I'm referring to a former one. Okay, she pulled a maneuver that I did not approve of. Okay, as a matter of fact, it was downright vile in my eyes. So I turned around and went, I'm not giving it to you. I'm not giving you back that aspect of your memory until you grow up a little and figure out how to treat people proper. Okay, net result is I told her I'll give it back to her in 1,000 years. Which, to my way of thinking, is reasonable. I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but yeah, there is no question. Life itself is a journey. And the journey is not just, oh, I'm going to see what I can do when I grow up this lifetime. life spans lifetimes. Okay. Now, of course, the real important question you have to ask is, do you personally, in this day and age, believe in reincarnation? Do you believe that it is possible to pull aspects of yourself back together, thereby co-creating a much brighter tomorrow? These are just some of the questions that come up. But life itself, you can always go to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and you'll find that the meaning of life is 42. Of course, if I recall the ending correctly, he immediately realizes that was the wrong question. But for me, it boils down to an issue of knowing what you're aiming for. Okay, and setting out to live your life to the best of your capability this lifetime to make it happen as well as possible. Okay, this is just literally what the purpose of it is go out, figure out who you are. Ferret, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And thank you so much, Ferret. I do appreciate it. And like I mentioned, yes, I do like coffee. Okay, it's a good thing because I either like coffee or I'm a glutton for punishment given the amount that I drink. And guys, by the way, at the top of this chat stream, you will find the link to buy me a coffee. It's that link that is now capable of it will tell you how to get a hold of me so that you can order any of the books that we talk about or any of the other stuff that we're dealing with. Now, I require that. I don't require that. Ferret, we will cover that in 10 seconds, just looking for one thing here. I am looking for that. Now, if you're striving to get a hold of me, this is the email address to use. This one is the one I'm into all the time. Okay, now that email address also works for getting in touch with PayPal. Now, Ferret, have you ever walked through these are a couple of things that may answer the question. Have you ever walked into a room or walked into a building that you've never been in, and yet it feels like your home sort of thing? And I'm talking older buildings usually. But if you've ever wandered into a situation that looks really familiar, the odds are you're pulling up a past life memory. Now, it does not mean that's the only marker. It's just one of many. Okay, but sometimes you'll meet somebody where there is an absolute solid connection. Okay, that there's nothing happened. You just simply met them, but you hit it off so tightly that you know there's a past. More often than not, that is a past life you're dealing with. But no, and again, if you take a look at it, okay, like anything like that will do it. If you meet somebody you just automatically either absolutely click with or have an absolute hate on for them right off the bat, the odds are you're dealing with a past life memory, that you've run into this same person before, albeit in a different vehicle. Okay, those are just two of the things. You'll also find some people have unexpected or unexplained allergies or fears. More often than not, those are triggered because of a past life, barely remembered thing. Oh, just a few, LA. And, much as I could get into those, in all fairness, and you know what I'm referring to here. If you desire to share some of them, you're more than welcome to. Okay, the ones that we've shared together, there are obvious reasons why discussing exactly what they were and my part in them. Not exactly, shall we say, the most conducive thing for it may answer questions, but I do believe it would create a lot more troubles. But the reality is, where it comes to past lives, where it comes to past lives, they do have a direct impact on this lifetime. Okay, it may be in the way of a phobia of a real good friend. Maybe it's a connection to somebody that you haven't physically met, and all you've done is seen them on TV going, I know that person, and yet I know I've never seen them. This is because of past life memory, 9 times out of 10. Now, there is something else available on this planet that can explain it, and that's something called mental cohesion. Okay, and for those of you that have ever experienced that, it can be really disconcerting when everybody's dying. But no, I'm starting to look at things and go, okay, how can I take what I've gone through and help you guys land on your feet? Okay, how can we turn the tables around so that in spite of all the negativity that we're hearing, in spite of that, the people are starting to remember the positive side? Oh, what is that? Yeah, that definitely comes from a different lifetime. See, this box here, okay, and I'll be going through it. I've got some pretty old comics, like this is solid, of comics that I've got that are in good condition because I've kept them bagged. Okay, but now I'm starting to look for places to sell them, but I'm starting to look for the prices that go with them. For actual collectors. Me. Think of it this way. Now, number one, there is no limit. Okay. Now, if you take a look at it to give you an idea of how often you can incarnate. Okay. Now, if we take the big, do you recognize, or do you have any concept of what scientists call the Big Bang Theory, as in the start of the universe? Do you have any idea how that works? And that's the reason I'm waiting for an answer from you, is so I can answer you directly in terms that you can understand. I keep reaching for that and I don't desire that. But I'm going to need it soon. But literally, the number of times that you can incarnate is 100% up to you. Okay? If you're trying to stack 52 cards on a deck, and you got really shaky hands, nobody tells you you've got only 3 tries to do this. Not anymore. Reincarnation is not like the 1980s and 1990s video games, where you only had 3 shots to succeed, and then you were dead. Doesn't work that way. But if you think about the Big Bang Theory, okay, as in a sudden shift, and all of a sudden we have a new universe. If you take a look at that, now I call that a flip, simply because of the way I learned to visualize it. Okay, but with that in mind. Now, first of all, Earth itself, okay, is approximately 5 billion years old. I did this calculation a little earlier, but I'm going to do it again anyway. 1,000 million billion. Divide by 70, because to come in to reincarnate as a human takes an average of 70 years. If you take that number, you're looking at just over 14 million lifetimes. Okay, and that's just on Earth. This is not counting the rest of the world or the rest of creation. Okay, that's 14 million just on Earth. Okay, now take that, and first and foremost, I don't think this calculator will do it. Yeah, you take that time. Oh, shape. 14,000 million. Where are we here? Times. Well, I did that completely wrong and dropped the math ball. Okay, what do I got? You know, ultimately, that's why I say ultimately, you don't have a limit. Okay. Oh, that's what I think. 14 million times a billion. Yeah, didn't work. But ultimately, that's what it boils down to. But the thing is, every time you reincarnate, and you may not reincarnate all the time on Earth in back-to-back sequence. That's just my doing. Okay. And even then, I haven't always come back and incarnated as a human. But, okay, when you come back in, you literally decide what you're looking for. What aspect of life are you striving to remember? Okay, and that can create a little bit of a cross current. Oh, who wrote what? Oh. You know, so the real key here is to make the most of the life you've currently got. Okay, there is almost nothing you cannot accomplish if you set your mind to it and you stay focused. Now, don't forget, many times you'll have to turn to somebody else because no individual is literally in a they are no. We'll try English because I'll tell you the other one ain't working. But there is no individual that is an island unto themselves. Where are we here? Oh, there we go. See, the nice part about it is you get to figure out how many times you're going to bang your head on the wall in a negative environment. Okay, many people I've talked to, they were in the military, but they were in the military that was out just to kill people. Okay, and sometimes people get stuck in this thought loop of I'm going to suffer, I'm going to punish myself. And I finally came to a conclusion going, that's not working all that well. This is the time where you get to decide what your next life is going to look like. Not what a past life is going to look like. Look to your past, absolutely do. Because a friend of mine coined it one day. He goes, to know oneself is to know all. Okay. And when you keep that in mind, you will learn so much more about yourself and the people around you by simply looking at your own actions. Like, ask yourself this: when you're dealing with people, are you treating them the way you desire to be treated? If the answer is no, it's time to start shifting your thinking. Just scanning up to see if I missed anything. Now, let me ask you this, and who was it that asked that? I'm just looking for a question I was asked. And of course, it's gone the way of the dodo bird. But when you pick a lifetime, take a look at what's going on around your current one. Ask yourself, are you content with the way it's turning out? If the answer is yes, then carry on. More often than not, I found people actually don't like the way their life is going, and therefore they've got to adjust for it. Well, this is one of those ones I have to deal with. Hello. Okay, doke. I will see you when you get here. Love you. Ciao. Like I said, family comes first. Even when I'm here, or if I'm working, if I'm actually doing a consultation for somebody. Oh, 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 there we go. You know, I'm just reading that. LA is just saying the question that I'm working on with me is originally. Okay. And it really does boil down to this. So many people are literally unhappy with your current life. So many of you are looking in the mirror going, I'm not content. Is this all I ever get to be? Or can I get to experience the higher side of life? Well, I'm telling you, I figured out something very important. Okay. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of money. There's a lot of people that are incredible artists. And most of the best ones you never see. I will tell you this: I'm building an empire. I am going to take this to an international, to an intercontinental business beyond just the reach of the newsletter and beyond just the reach of positive perceptions. But the kicker is this: the more successful I am, the more successful I will ensure that customers, supporters, suppliers, okay, contributors, all of these people, and even for that matter, strangers, I am going to be taking the prosperity that I generate with your guys' help, and I'm going to redistribute it. I will take care of me first. Okay, I will absolutely, like I said, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to be true to you first. If you don't take care of you first, you're going to become the burden you're trying to help other people avoid. Okay, very important little factor there. So, when we're talking about how many times do you get a run at it, let me ask you this: for those of you that drink, how many times have you made a go of getting drunk to the point of having a hangover? Did anybody tell you you're not allowed to have a hangover anymore? Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is just the reality of it. It's up to you what you're going to do and how your life is going to evolve. But you do have to follow the laws of the land in which you are. Now, is there a limit to how many times you can ride the roller coaster at any one of the amusement parks? Or is there any limit to the amount of times that you can drive down a road, an old road. Any limit at all, aside from if the car breaks down, you can't drive it anymore. Okay, this is just the reality of what's happening. Now it's time for us to turn all the lights on, okay, and start making things happen. Okay, one of the things I gotta start making happen is figure out how to put my back in so it's not killing me, which is why I keep standing up, by the way. Sitting down way too long, I think. But with this in mind, and to think, I'm standing here and I'm just looking at this. My stomach used to be out that far. Okay. I decided I didn't like it, but I didn't like it for me. So what did I do? I cut back on the amount of food I was putting in. Ferret, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, in all likelihood, it probably will. I'm actually in the process of looking into that sort of thing. The reality is our life is going to change. Okay, but it is up to us as a community, and in this case, I'm referring to the community that's in this chat room. Okay, it is up to us to start changing the way society is looking at things. Okay, now I can tell you all I want, I can talk to you until the cows come home, okay, about what is missing. But I am literally relying on you guys to get out there and let people know that things are changing. What do we got here? Oh, okay. Don't need to worry about that. But it really boils down to making absolutely certain that we turn around, okay, and start adjusting things so this world takes a change for the better. Now, I cannot tell you how many lifetimes you've had. The average time for a human between lifetimes is 70 years. Okay. Now, some of you may remember some of the old battles. I will warn you about one little important factor. Only one person was King Henry VIII. Only one of you. And I can't tell you how many people I've heard of that I've talked to that have said, oh, I was Anne Boleyn. Or in a former lifetime, I was Mozart. Okay. Only one person can be any one of these people because everybody only has one soul. Okay. And that's the one that is driving all of your vehicles. Now, have I run into people that have claimed to be a famous person from the past? And have I been able to, in my own way, go, yes, that person really is that person? Or, guys, would you like a backhoe, or is a shovel good enough, or would you like a backhoe? Okay, something you got to remember is when you reincarnate, you come in with the same backbone that you were. Yeah. LA goes, there's only so many famous people to go around. Absolutely. But so many people have claimed they are a major icon. But here's the thing. When you take a look at the personality of that person from back then, it will be the core personality when you reincarnate is going to stay the same. Now, during an incarnation, you may have an encounter that wakes you up, whereby you come in with a different set of priorities. Okay, It's kind of like if you only know how to do things one way, you're going to keep doing it that way until something clicks and you go looking for a new way to do it. Now, I'm not about to put you guys on the spot and go, okay, who here thinks they had a past life, that their past life was a famous person? Okay, most people's past lives are simple serfs, simple people, because not that many people have extremely exciting lives. Okay, it just doesn't happen that much. But you get to pick what kind of life you're going to have. Now, I've already set things in motion. I'm gearing up for my next life. And I haven't bothered with how the money's going to be there. But my next lifetime, I'm coming in and I'm going to have access to a staggering amount of money. Okay. How they got it, I don't care. Because I'm coming in to carry on my philanthropic tendencies. Okay. And the reason I call them my philanthropic tendencies is because even today, when finances have been tight, okay, I will turn around and help the people I can without even thinking about it. Okay. And literally, it's a question of I do it so somebody else can feel a little better. Okay. Technically, there's no ulterior motive. Because if people feel better, they're not as grumpy and they're not as testy as normal. Therefore, I don't suffer the pain of it. Okay. Now, with this in mind, it's time to really look at the mark that you're making on the world today. Are you leaving the world in a better place? Okay. Or maybe it's a better way to put it. Are you creating a future, well, a present for yourself that people will look back on fondly and go, gee, that guy or that girl had a decent heart and they had a good idea. Let's remember what they did in the way of a positive side. Now, this lifetime, I'm starting to set things in motion. Okay. And the advent of the Buy Me a Coffee button at the top of the chat room is going to enable me to start doing that more effectively. Okay. With the word of mouth advertising I was talking about, because January was where I started it, I have one person that is getting, because like I said, maybe I should back that up. Word of mouth advertising, I only pay back in cash when somebody has generated using my algorithm more than $10. Okay. And then I will ship it back to them. Okay. This is my way of taking the net profit that I make that my company generates and sharing 80% of it, of the net profit, with the world at large. Okay, now it's absolutely going to confuse people. Okay, I know this. But everything I do, I've got a reason for. Everything you do, you have a reason for. And the one thing I will tell you is other people's opinion does not make a lot of impact on what you are actually here to do, although you may buy into it. One of the things that you got to remember with this life is the life is yours to do with what you will. You've got free will. You've got free choice. What you don't have is freedom from consequence. Now, let me ask you this, guys. If there was one aspect of your life that you would like to change, and we'll do it for the here and now, but understand what you're doing in the here and now is setting the stage for how your next life is going to go. Okay, I'm putting this together. I'm putting my empire together now with the explicit understanding that when all is said and done, And you're going to have to hold that thought. There we go. When all is said and done, okay, you're going to have to realize that what you do with your life now is setting the stage for your next one. Okay, but you've got as many runs at it as you'd like. Okay, I mean, picture, if you will, take a look at it as, for instance, a video game. Now, I play Skyrim. Okay, and maybe you're playing the game of life on Earth. Preacher, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Uh-oh. No, preacher. Not likely. But I am going to have to figure something out because, see, I was just thinking, I'm already setting the stage to pick up enough medical insurance to come into the States for 5 weeks, for 35 days. Okay. Now, I've already written off 3 weeks are already booked, but I am seriously considering the option, another option of coming down into the States for another week, and I'm still debating on where to go with it. So that's for this year. And this is based on this is even in spite of very limited funding to do it for the moment. But the thing you got to remember when we're looking at incarnation, you pick what you're looking for. You get to look in the mirror right now and go, am I content with my life the way it is? If the answer is no, it's time to start changing it. And this is precisely why I turned around and wrote that. Okay, because this literally gives you the backbone of how I took my life and turned it around. Okay, and again, that book and all the other books that I've got, okay, are available in my Buy Me a Coffee link, in my Buy Me a Coffee shop, and absolutely Buy Me a Coffee shop. I mean, I'll put it to good use. I am not a cook, okay, so I'm not going to be the one cooking anyway. But now is the time to really, and I will warn you about one little detail there, Preacher. I'm just looking at the way you wrote that. And the real sad kicker of this is here. Whether you believe you've already been shafted or you believe you haven't, ultimately you're setting the stage to continue down that path. Okay, so time to really look at the way your life is going and go, how do I desire it to change? I mean, realistic, and I do mean realistically, it's up to you how that comes about. But you've got the power. All of you have the ability to make this happen. I was waiting for a munchkin to come home, so he's home now. But every one of you has the ability to make your life change for what you consider the better, not for what I do. Okay, what I consider the better is completely irrelevant in the greater scheme of things. Now, my phone's going to die, which is sort of irrelevant while I'm on the live stream here. Now you'll notice, when you take a look at things, when you take a look at this whole idea of incarnation, you pick how many times you desire to do it. Maybe you're going to come back next lifetime the exact same way you are now, but you're going to take it on a different bend. You're going to learn a little bit more. Like maybe, and I've seen people do this, they come in and they're just an absolute shambles. So what they do is they made a mistake, made a deal with somebody, and they come back in the next lifetime going, I liked the lifestyle, but I didn't like the outcome. So they figure out a new way of approaching things to get the benefits they were aiming for. Okay, this is just one of those neat little aspects. Okay, now what we're aiming at this point is, in your eyes, have you been, and the whole key, this is how you can tell when you're done incarnating. Okay, do you feel on this planet, that is? Yeah, that was pretty much what I did there, preacher. Yeah, I got forced into one, and for the first little while, it was like, I've been working. Well, I started working full time when I was 9 years old. Okay, I was forced into retirement 50 years later. Okay, now I could have gone pushing for a new job. Instead, what did I do? I essentially took a year off, wiped out just about everything I had, and then said, okay, let's get back to work. Okay, let's build an empire. Let's give myself more to do than I have any clue what I'm going to do with. Okay, but because they told me it was lonely at the top, I'm taking everybody with me that I can. Okay, and it's starting to work. Now, I'm wondering what this is. Oh, there we are. All kinds of things kicking in. Now, I was just double checking because, like I said, I keep an eye on, I do try and keep an eye on what's going on. My brain doesn't work half the time, I'm sure of it. But I'm just looking at that, preacher, and I'm sure you could complain. I don't see the point to complaining, but I'm sure you could. But I think I figured out something. And it's just a thought at this point, but I'll figure it out as I go along. One of the biggest factors that we have to look at is if you're looking at incarnation, incarnation does not have to wait until you drop dead for you to redesign the way your life is going. Okay, I am currently designing a much more prosperous future. Okay, and it is taking some doing. It's taking the input and assistance of other people. It's just that simple. But like I said, no individual is an island unto themselves. It is up to you how you desire the next stage of your life to go. Okay. Now, Preacher's just said that he's taking a year vacation, which is great. But I do agree with you, Preacher. It can get real boring sitting around doing nothing. I'm not sure I can relate to that. What do you think? I've got, I think, 33 books I'm concurrently writing. As a matter of fact, where did that go? Whoop, that just about didn't work. Put this back where it belongs. Pop that in there. This is my little notebook, clipboard to keep myself organized. I think I did that, but I'm going to deal with that. Oh, look at that. You get to check that off. But one of the big things we have to realize is, what are you content? When I talk about your current incarnation, I am literally referring to how your life is showing right now. Are you content with it? Because understand, reincarnation is not necessarily a question of dropping dead first, although that does kind of punctuate the idea. Got to get that done. Okay, now one of the neat little issues that we got to look at is there is no limit to the number of times you can do it. How many times have you heard of somebody reinventing themselves? They go, oh, I reinvented myself because I didn't like the way my life was. Maybe like one person I knew in particular, you've been married for 20 years and all of a sudden it's like, this is not what I envisioned. So they pull the plug on the marriage. Okay. And they shut it down to reinvent themselves, to reincarnate in another fashion. Okay, to live a different life. Sometimes it's because they're trying to run from something. Sometimes people do it because they're running towards it. In my case, I just looked at it and went, I've been sitting here trying to get other people to sort things out. And I have come to the conclusion, and I had a very short conversation with Storm today, that I've come to the conclusion I'm not bothering with the technology side. From here on out, I'm just going, I need this done. This just annoys the heck out of me. Can you take care of it? Now understand, and I'm going to get flack for this. I understand that, but deal with it. I'm not about to do anything that I don't work out a way to compensate for. An honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Now, there's been somebody that has been helping me in the practical system to deal with the government. Okay. Now they've been doing it out of the kindness of their heart. That's great. I'm just not inclined to leave it sit with that. And this is why I say, when I find things if I find a talent that somebody has, and I can figure out a way, and I'm going to put this a little sour, I'm going to figure out a way to capitalize on it. But here's the kicker for capitalization in my eyes. If I've got a way of making money for me off of somebody else's ability, you can bet I'm going to find a way to compensate them for it. Okay. And I don't mean give them a nickel because they did $10,000 worth of work. Okay. I mean literally get things set in motion so that they are making money as well as I am. Okay. And it's a very important aspect for me. Remember that thing about do unto others as you desire them to do unto you? Same principle. Okay. Now, with that in mind, it's time we pull together. That, of course, brings to mind a sort of a bit of a song. You have a great weekend too there, Woo. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Yeah, I really do appreciate it. And just a quick little note, if everything goes well, I should be on Nathan's show tomorrow as well. Okay. And I don't know exactly how that's going to go. I don't know what he's got up his sleeve. But we'll find out. One thing that is very important from my end is I've got a lot of different little projects on the go. But it's time to start including people and keeping you guys up to speed. Because it's literally been your encouragement that's made it happen. Now, neat part about it, okay, I now have on order. These are coming out as a poster. Okay, I believe the term would be collect them all, except it's not Pokemon. But I am looking at changing the world. I'm no longer content to sit back and wait for this world to sit the way it is. Therefore, I'm setting things in motion so that when I go, either my kids will carry it forward or somebody in the company. Okay, I'll figure that out. I'm not building this so that my kids have to take it over. I'm building it to ensure as much of a safeguard as I can possibly get to make sure it continues serving the community, the global community, in the same capacity. Now I've already done all the legwork, all the calculating necessary. Now it's time to make it happen. Okay. And one of the things we got to remember is whatever you see the future as, whatever you put the effort into, that's what you're stacking the deck in favor of. Okay. Doesn't guarantee your world will be absolutely perfect, but it does stack the deck in favor of it. Okay. One thing we have to remember is if you're not content with your life, you're going to find it very difficult to help other people be content with their lives. And I don't know about you, but I do know in my case, if the people around me are upset, I usually find it essentially painful. Okay, that's just the reality behind it. Oh, there we are. Just trying to see where we're sitting. Now, one very important factor. Okay, and I haven't done it yet, I don't think. Let me see. Tomorrow. Oh, there we are. Okay. Now, today we're looking at incarnation. Here's another thing. Well, reincarnation. How many times can you reincarnate? Okay, well, there is no limit. You can come back as often as you choose. It doesn't even have to always be as a human. Okay, it can be whatever you choose. Okay, but one of the things I'm doing this lifetime, and it literally boils down to I've gone through a mess, financially speaking. So tomorrow, when we're looking at the self-help side of things, we're going to take a look at how you can take your finances, not mine. I'm not giving you my finances. I'm not taking control of yours. But we're going to take a look at literally handling your own income with the money you've got. Okay. Now I'm going to have to deal with this in generic terms tomorrow. Okay. But here's the neat little kicker to it. What we're going to be talking about is, if I can get it, you'd think I would actually just get off my tail feathers. But this neat little book here, okay, Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams. What we're talking about tomorrow, most of it is contained in here. I'm going to show you something I haven't shown here before, but I've got another book up here. I'm in the middle of transferring over. Let's see if this is it. Yep. There's a whole pile of information in this little booklet that is thus far not set up for sale. Okay, I'm reworking it to make it a little bit more clear. But some of the information in here is additional to this. So what we're looking at tomorrow, now you'll notice this, Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams. This one, you'll notice it's also really big. Fortunes Forever. Okay, now I'm going to be taking a look at this one and getting it into print as soon as I can. Obviously, I've already got it in print to a degree, but it's got to be reworked. But these both contain keys to making your finances work using your money, even if you're on the verge of bankruptcy. I'm telling you, I've been bankrupt twice, both for stupid reasons. But here's the kicker to it. In both cases, once I figured out what I had done, I look back at it, and the only people, in my opinion, that have ever benefited from somebody going bankrupt is the bankruptcy trustee. Okay, they're the only ones that make money at it. The people that are going bankrupt, number one, it doesn't actually do much for you. Okay. Now bear in mind, I'm talking about from personal experience. Okay. I'm talking about it working from personally, how it works, from what I've personally gone through. And again, I am taking a look at what I've been through, taking a look at what I know and going, okay, let us build an empire where affluence is the key to the whole system. Not just affluence for me, affluence for everybody I'm connected to that is putting active effort in. Okay, and I know that sounds absolutely bizarre. Okay, it's just, I'm no longer content with the way our world is running. So it's time to make a change. But I realize many of you have walked down a very simple path. You were taught the same way your parents were taught. And frankly, they were taught like their grandparents. But if they were taught methods that weren't working, they wouldn't know any better. Okay, take a look at the state the world's in. This is your chance to reinvent yourself, to reincarnate without actually dying. Okay, and that's the real neat kicker to it. You don't have to die to reincarnate. You simply have to kill off the thought process. Now, governments have never been able to stop the thought process, but individuals have. I mean, you think about it. I was drinking a 26er a night without even blinking. Now I'm not. Okay. Now I drink 3 times. Well, this year it'll probably be 4 times because of the fact that I will certainly be having at least a drink down while I'm down in Reno. If you're hoping you're going to see me drunk, do not hold your breath. You're kidding me there, Joe. See, and the thing is, I don't actually pay attention to this. Where are we here? I'm just refreshing and take a look. Joe was just saying there's almost 30 likes for the show. And in all fairness, like once I get off this stream, I am taking a very wise young lass's guidance on this, and I will be posting tomorrow's stream tonight. Okay, simply getting ahead of the curve because it's time we take this to a whole new level. Let us reincarnate in this lifetime without going through so much of the pain in the neck of waiting till you get 70, 80 years down the road before you die. No brilliant ideas, guys. There are ways to jump the line. We're not going to get into them. Okay. But I will tell you, the way you desire your life to unfold is still within your grasp. Okay. It really is. The question is, what are you aiming for? Oh, in all fairness there, Joe, and I don't even know how you found that one out. But yes, I look at 18 likes and the 10 watching. I absolutely personally see that as something to count. The reality is, I have no idea how to tell how many people are watching. Okay, which is fine. I appreciate the update. But yes, to me that adds up to 28 because it means that's who we are reaching. Okay, kind of an important factor, especially given the way our world is. We have billions of people listening to others tell them the world is a shambles, we're all going to die, we're all going to be miserable, and watch the next stunt because some genius is out there to ruin it all. Okay. I swear, I look at some of what's going on and I'm thinking, are you guys trying to go back to the Stone Ages? Or are you trying to go back to the Middle Ages? That was so much fun. I mean, you had a lot less in the way of political intrigue and a whole lot more in the way, instead of sewage being pumped out of people's mouths, it was being dumped in the streets. I'm not sure which one's less appealing. Yeah, I somehow don't doubt that, Ellie. And see, this is where I came up with the factor of 6 there. When my father was working for a pest control company, he came up to me and he goes, "If you ever see one mouse in a house, there are 6 you don't see." And I looked at that and went, "Okay, how about if we take a look and we'll just look at the people that are in the chat room and go, okay, right now we've got 18, no, we've got 11 in the chat room, 12 in the chat room right now. Okay, well, that means if we take that factor of 6 in, all of a sudden we got 72 that are either going to be listening to it now or listening to it later. Okay, and I look at it this way. That's the marker I'm aiming for. That's what I'm keeping an eye on. Okay. And much as the numbers don't matter, so much as the message does. Okay. And this is why I say, for those of you that are looking in that direction, one thing I did find out with regards to the we'll try English. With regards to the way that my shop is working. Yeah, absolutely, LA. And given the response I get every time that I talk about pulling the plug, obviously somebody is hearing, because I get it from various different angles. For me personally, this has now become a question of, this is what I'm doing, but I will give you a heads up. When I go to Reno, May 8th to May 14th, while I'm down in Reno, I won't be on the air because I'm not taking my computer with me. And later this year, when I go down to Texas and Utah, I'll be gone for 2 weeks. And I won't be taking the computer with me. So we're going to just have to work with that. But am I going to be closing? No. Kimberly, thank you so much. I'm glad you could drop in. One real quick point for you, since you're just joining us. If you've got a question, even if we're not talking about reincarnation, if you've got a question in any field, feel free to ask. Okay, just remember, put the question in all caps so I can actually spot the thing. Okay, or partial caps, or at least a wavy hand, and I will do my best to answer it. The one thing I won't do for you is I'm not about to lie to you to make you feel better. Okay, unless you ask me directly, at which point it usually comes about as, Kimberly, I'm about to lie to you. Natter. That was a lie, Kimberly. That's pretty much how well I lie. I'm not sure that works well if you're warning people you're lying. Then they've got the chance, and then they've got the option whether to ignore you. I figure people have that option anyway. But the real factor I'm looking at, people talk about reincarnation as in you've got to die to start a new life. You really don't have to do that. Yeah, Kimberly goes, I'm used to that with Eric. Yep, no doubt. Eric and I, the first time, you should, and I'm not going to go into it here, but you really should talk to Eric about it. Eric and I recently discovered a past life together. Talk about a pleasant shock. We always knew when we first met there was a shared lifetime. Now we know what it is. But yeah, I can understand how you would get that way with it. You'd get used to it with Eric. He and I are very much on the same page on that note. But when you look at reincarnation, number one, There's no limit to how many times you can reinvent yourself. There's no limit to what you're capable of generating. The only limit is your own imagination and effort. Okay? Decide what you're content with and make the changes necessary. Now, of course, the reality is if you don't know how to make the changes or where to begin, that's where I come in. Or many other people. I am not the best of the best. Okay, I'm probably one of the more direct. Okay, but I will tell you this. Whatever your goal is, there is very little in this world that you cannot do. Yeah, I agree with you there, Ellie. Have you ever noticed when you're being a child, you gotta listen to some that was nearly rude. You have to listen to some of the most short-sighted, ill thought out ideas possible. Okay. Like one of the weird ones I got told was my parents, like so many of yours, don't talk to the kids about their finances. You don't put that on them. Leave them in the dark till they go out in the world so they can figure out how to screw their own life up. Just like I did. Let's not take that away from them. Tomorrow, we're going to be dealing with this idea of reclaiming power over your finances in a functional, immediately recognizable fashion, regardless of the state you're in. Almost regardless. If you've got no income, no ambition, your life ain't going to change. Okay. But if you're interested in changing it, tomorrow we kick that door off its hinges and make certain you've got the key to make it happen. Okay. Yes, I'm going to sound a little cocky on that one. But then, it's not like I'm only a day or two old. Well, in all fairness, if you count the idea that a day is 1,000 years, what do we got here? Let's see here. We had 14 million. Whoop. We had 14 million lifetimes ish. And we're looking at 14 million lifetimes. If we just take each one and we get 14 million days, so we divide that by 365, and we're still looking at 38,000 years. So yeah, I've been around a while. And many of my lifetimes I remember. Not that many. Okay. But one of the things we have to realize, if you're not content with the way your life is, if you're listening in here at all, okay, it's a simple matter of mathematics to me. If you're here looking at and listening to me talk about how you can change your life, you may have been seeking the answer for the entirety of your life prior to getting here. The fact you're here at all says you haven't found the key. You haven't found the key that works for you. Okay. And this is why I say, under the Buy Me a Coffee, this particular book, this one, that contains the backbone of how I took my life out of being very depressed, very self-sabotaging, and turned it into what you see today with the initial budding of an empire. And I'm not stopping until I drop dead. Okay. I've had a number of conversations with my other half because she's still having trouble figuring out why in tarnation I would choose her over everybody else. Well, the answer is simple. I'm looking for the best of the best. Okay. Therefore, I found what I desire and what I consider the best of the best for a life partner. I've got, from my experience, the best of the best in computer technological support. Okay. And, I don't say that to boost anybody's spirits or anybody's ego. Some people I know, their ego really doesn't need boosting. Okay, but I will give credit where credit is due. And it's absolutely critical, okay, that we turn around and start working with each other in order to share these connections, in order to encourage evolution, instead of what is being promoted in today's society, what I call devolution, as in we are being trained to be slower and slower. I know somebody's going to get mad. Oh, you're calling people slow. Yeah, I am. If you don't think as fast as the person next to you, you're slower than they are. Simple as that. If you're running in a race and they outrun you, you're slower than they are. Sorry, don't like it. Doesn't add up for much. Okay. Conversely, and this is quite serious. You never have to outrun a grizzly bear if it's trying to kill you. You just have to outrun the guy beside you. That's it. Okay. Yeah, that went dark really fast. But we work with it. One of the important factors that we have to look at in today's world is how are you going to take your life from where it is and change it, okay, to what you desire it to be. Now, with this in mind, we are hitting the 2-hour mark here. And Kimberly, I really am glad you popped in. I am on most nights from Friday through Wednesday, from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Just trying to get my hand to work, and that ain't working that well. But as we're hitting the 2-hour mark, I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate it. I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, but until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.